Let's move on and let's talk about kind of who we want next. Like, what manager are you looking at that's going? I mean, the news is, if you look at the press, it's Iraola, Marco Silva, Glasner, the Brentford manager as well, Thomas Frank. I mean, Kate, who are you looking at? Is there anyone outside the box that you're looking at who you want next?
I just want Poch to come home. It's not going to happen. I won't. I said to Jim, I can see you shaking your head, George. I get it off Alex box office. I get it off everyone. I don't care. Unless it's Poch next, I'm still going to be disappointed. I wanted him back this time before Ange. I didn't want Ange. Otherwise, look, it's one of them where I think most of the names you mentioned are better than Ange Postecoglou. I quite like Marco Silva. I quite like Thomas Frank. But at the same time, I kind of have got in my head that it doesn't really matter who comes in, because all the while Levy's there, is anything really going to change? I don't know. So there's nobody particularly that I'm thinking, apart from Poch, obviously. Destiny 5, who's in the chat, he's like me, wants Poch to come home. Apart from him, there's not really anyone in my brain that I particularly want. I didn't ever want Poch gone, and I said that we'd regret it. And I think any fan that says it wasn't a mistake is living in La La Land, because it's never been the same. But a lot of that stemmed from the fact, again, that Levy wouldn't back him and wouldn't renew the squad. So we should just say I'm not bothered. I just want a change. I've just not got someone that I particularly want.
Yeah, George, I see you every time Pochettino's name gets mentioned. You're shaking your head. Who do you want then?
It just worries me that fans want a manager who, since leaving Spurs, has continuously got worse. I mean, PSG, he was one of the first managers to fail to win a league for them, which he did do in the next year. But the first season he's not like he went in there and there was like in a bad position. They gained the same amount of points. They never closed the lead on the team above them. And USA, I'm sure people seen just a month ago where he bottled it in not just the semi-final, in the third round, the third playoff. So that gives me no confidence that Pochettino has gone somewhere and actually learned. There's been times when other managers leave, like let's just say David Moyes, when he left Everton, came back. He left West Ham in the interim and came back and was better. Sometimes you can go away, come back and have a good spell. Don't think that'll be the case for Pochettino.
So Poch was working wonders at Chelsea at the end, but they sacked him. They
had Palmer working wonders. It was just get the ball to Palmer and he would do everything. And that's ultimately, Spurs don't have a superstar player that you can do that with. We don't.
Just a quick retort to that. You know, Unai Emery as well didn't win the league with PSG. Would you take him? Like, he's a very good manager.
But the thing is about Unai Emery, I think he's proven that in the cups outside of league football, he's a great cup competition manager. He's in the semi-final of a Champions League, quarter-final of Champions League just this season with Aston Villa in their first year. So it goes to show that his pedigree is proven on that sense. And I would definitely take in Unai Emery. I feel like he's, since even that years with PSG, he's gone on, got better, gone to loads of different clubs. And you can see the project that he's building over at Aston Villa right now. The difference between him and an Ange is players know him. He can pull a Rashford. He can pull an Asensio.
Carrying him to
we can't pull in those players. And referring to Poch doesn't have that respect either. Poch isn't a manager that's won loads of trophies. I don't think a lot of players are gonna, when they hear Poch call in, it's not I want to come play for this club because Poch is there. For like the managers we need to go for, the top of my list is Xavi Hernandez. I think he's available. I think he would go to a team that's going to offer him a good project. Obviously, he's going to want a big paycheck with that because he's just left Barcelona. Do I think that he would come to Spurs? We'd have to really attract him there. There could be a conversation. Spurs were speaking to all the top managers just 2 years ago, so I don't understand why that would change so much. I know we're in a not great position, but I don't feel like we should lower our level to the likes of Iraola, who I think's done a decent job at Bournemouth this year. Definitely think he's been overrated as well. I mean, they've got one win in their last 6 games, and if you actually look at their 2025 form, I think they're only up before the game the other day. There was only 3 points ahead of us in the whole of 2025. Bournemouth haven't over-exceeded expectations as much as people think they have. They play on the transition, and Spurs aren't going to get the chance to kill teams on the transition as much as Bournemouth do because teams play low block against them. So I don't want Iraola. I think Glasner's a good manager at Crystal Palace. He plays a variety of systems. He's also won a trophy. I think he won the Europa League. Was it with Frankfurt?
He won with Frankfurt, yeah.
Yeah, and he had a really good team at that time. So he's proven, and he's doing a really good job at Crystal Palace at the moment. We should look at him and maybe Marco Silva if we're looking at Premier League. But I think we should go elsewhere. I think Seb Hones is another manager we've been looking at and could be a good option. But I don't think that Iraola, Pochettino, and I suppose, those two managers are managers that I think we should stay far away from. We need to prove it.
George, Kate mentioned before, like, it doesn't really matter who the manager is till Levy's in charge. Like, he's just going to burn each and every manager and they're just bound to last about 18 months. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, we have been in a cycle for I'd probably say the last 5 years since Pochettino's left. We've sort of just been in a cycle where we have a good little run of games and then the managers go poor and we need to reset. And the system is just, Spurs is messed up at the moment. I do think with we need a coach. That's the biggest thing. The problem with all the managers we've brought in after Pochettino is we've brought in managers that are good coaches, but they need other things to sort of, other factors to help bring their team and make their team shine and sort of flourish. We need someone that is focused on just coaching players, getting the best out of players, using young players, sort of promoting from the academy, and someone that can...
Just saying.
Yeah, to be fair, the amount of players he promoted from the academy is very overrated because he's only about 3 players that he successfully promoted from the academy. Most of them ones that were integrated into the team prior to him coming in. I hope you know that, Kate. There wasn't many.
3 is a lot. 3 is quite a bit.
3, and if we look at the players that he did, none of them were good. It was like the Harry Winks, is the
Tom Carroll, Mason.
He was just Mason, Bentaleb. It was like average players, like no one that he brought through in that. But he was a good coach, and there's nothing to take away from that. He was a good coach. So we need someone that's a good coach, can work with young players. But we also need someone that's proven at that level. I don't feel like we should go for one of these young tactical managers that are like just up and coming and they've got a good style of play. So I'm a bit bored of the tactical stuff. I just need someone that's going to get down on the grass, coach a player, make him improve and get the best and sort of focus on the player's strengths and get the best out of them. That's what we need.
I think Glasner is actually, I mean, Poch aside, because you'll never get me otherwise that Poch is the right man for the job. And I don't think he's coming here until after the World Cup. But I think apart from that, I know it's going to be someone completely different but from Pochettino. But I think Glasner is the perfect fit for us. He's been successful wherever he's been. He's won the Europa League. He's Prem proven now with his 2 seasons at Crystal Palace. And I think the system that he does play kind of suits to the squad that we have. 3 at the back, wing-back system, getting Son a bit more centrally, playing out on the left wing or left number 10 as he plays. So I actually think the way Glasner plays football is actually perfect for the squad that we have. Add a few more players in there. But I also agree with the sentiment that, bringing in a manager, how much of a change is it actually going to make? Maybe a short-term effect, and it's always going to go back to where we were and not be able to push us on to the way the club or the fans want to see the club pushed onto. But I think if you're going to ask me who my number 1 pick would be after Pochettino, it would be Oliver Glasner probably. Where would you be, Sim? I would say if we're looking at Premier League managers, any manager. Huh? Any manager. I know, but I'm just saying if people are looking for Prem proven, I would say Glasner would be my top pick. I would rather him than an Iraola or a Marco Silva, in my opinion. I think Iraola, similar to Ange, in a sense that he relies a lot on physicality, pressing, overwhelming the opposition in that sense. And I think at the moment, especially when we have European football, it seems to have been undoing in terms of injuries and stuff like that. And as well, I think the results in the second half of the season are a bit concerning. Albeit, I do think Iraola is a good manager, don't get me wrong. And I think he probably improves us. But I think in terms of a long-term fit, I'm not convinced. Marco Silva, I don't know what to think of him. I think he's a good manager. He's done really well at Fulham. But his other jobs is very hit and miss. He's done really well in parts, then goes very wrong very quickly for him, Marco Silva. So I also feel like he's one of these managers who is very tactically kind of he he's very has a lot of tactical variations, but I think sometimes his teams, especially Fulham, sometimes they lack a bit of identity because he changes it up so much. Sometimes you don't know how exactly they play, which is a blessing and a curse, I guess. Sometimes you don't know how to face it, but also means sometimes his team lack a bit of identity and they can be a bit stale. I find with Fulham sometimes. So I don't know if he's the guy to who's the right fit. So I like Glasner. I think he would probably be the best out of the Premier League, but I don't know, going to a back three, given the way he plays, is he just a little bit too pragmatic sometimes? I think he might be a better fit for just a team a bit lower down, but obviously we're also a bit lower down at the moment.
So 17th, bruv.
So maybe he's, we're not 17th actually, 15th.
15th, sorry.
So maybe, look, but obviously that's not where we aspire to be. I feel like he might be better for... a bit better than Palace potentially. I just don't know if he's a Tottenham manager to get us into back into the Champions League spots potentially. I think he can. So it may be a good short-term appointment, but maybe again he'll be a manager for a couple of years, which I guess is the kind of sticking point with Tottenham anyway. I really like Gasperini from Atalanta. I think he'd really embody the philosophy of Tottenham. Very attacking. I think he does really well with the options he gets. Like, he gets play. If you look at the players he's gotten at Atalanta and just got them scoring loads and loads of goals, they're consistently the top highest scorers, or one of the highest scorers in Serie A, and he does it with players you don't expect. Like, Lookman was really at a crossroads in his career when he went there, and he's become an unbelievable player. There's so many different attacking players that go there who are out of favour, out of sorts, and he reinvigorates their career. So I think that he could be a really good option for us. But getting out of Atalanta, he seems to have been there for a while, and he seems to be part of the furniture there. So he's never been in the Premier League, so it could be difficult. But I really like him. I really like him. I also think maybe Thiago Motta as well, who's available on a free. I know he didn't quite work out from Juve, but Juve also a club who are a bit of a mess at the moment. So it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to judge. Maybe
very defensive, yes, extremely.
He wasn't defensive at Bologna though. He was really attacking, which is what got them into the Champions League. So for some reason at Juve, maybe it's because Juve are known for being this team who are quite defensive team. Maybe he knows that, I think he played for them and stuff, so he knows their philosophy. So maybe he tried to kind of play to that philosophy, and he got a lot of 0-0s. He was staying unbeaten. But when he was at Bologna, it wasn't the case at all that he was this offensive, pragmatic. He was quite offensive, and I think he could adapt well to Tottenham. I think he's quite a good manager, Motta, and he is available. So I think he would definitely be under my consideration.
Has he had another job apart from Bologna?
I think that was his first job.
A name that I've been hearing a few people talk about recently is Vincenzo Italiano, who's doing a very good job at Bologna this season. Although I don't know much about him. But apparently he's having a brilliant season. I think 5th in the league or something in Serie A.
Yeah, they're also doing very well. Bologna. Sorry, no, he had a couple other jobs. He was at Genoa and Spezia, looks like. But Bologna, he had a really good time there. But maybe the guy at Bologna now potentially. Slim. It's not like we're not spoiled for choice, to be honest. In terms of
hindsight, if Ruben Amorim was sacked this summer for Manchester United, would you take him?
100%. As much as and it's probably hypocritical for me because I come and cook our Man United fans by Amorim all the time. He's not improved them, but at the same time, I generally think at a different club he does a good job. He just needs players to play his system, and I agree with you, Ben. I think our team's primed to play a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 or some type of 3 at the back formation, especially when you have players like Van der Ven. You got players that can cover ground, and we're not necessarily have a 6. We don't necessarily have someone in that team that can play that role as of yet. I feel like we should play that 3 and back with Pedro Porro, Jed Spencer, Dogi. Gives you those options. Players, they're all really good at running down the wings and sort of dribbling with the ball at their feet. So should lean on the player's strengths and bring in a manager like that, but also not against bringing in a normal 4-3-3 manager that just play an effective system.
It's mad, isn't it, George, though? Because when we had Conte here that played that system, we didn't have the squad and the team that was fit for it. And as soon as he leaves, we have the squad that's like fit for that system. It's just madness.
annoying.
There's breaking news just come through that Iriola's close to signing a new contract at Bournemouth.
Yeah,
Great.
this morning. So that doesn't look good for people who want Iraola at Tottenham. But I feel like a lot of these times with managers, they go through a bit of good form and all of a sudden they become flavour of the month. And all of a sudden there's a big clamouring because they're in good form and everyone's like, okay, these guys are the answer. Then all of a sudden they hit bad form and everyone goes cold with them again.
Yeah.
Apparently, but according to TalkSport, it says that Marco Silva is apparently the front runner at the moment, which could be interesting. I like Marco Silva. I do like Marco Silva. I think he's very adaptable, but I mean, I wouldn't mind it if he was, hired for the job, but I just would prefer to go for someone. I just think Glasner's the perfect fit.
Yeah.
I really do.